Do you know why you can't stand being alone? It's not because you love company. It's because you fear yourself. You're not addicted to people. You're addicted to noise, to distraction, to anything that drowns out the silence. That silence? It's not empty. It's full. Full of the thoughts you've buried, the truths you've denied, the questions you don't want to answer. So you run, you scroll, you binge, you fill every second with sound, with screens, with someone else's life. But do you feel connected or just surrounded? Because that's the difference. You can be in a crowd and still feel alone. You can have hundreds of conversations and say nothing real. You can post every day and be invisible to yourself. They told you loneliness was a problem to fix, that if you just met more people, joined more groups, found the right tribe, you'd be happy. But has it worked? Look at your life. Count the apps. Count the notifications. Count the hours spent running from yourself. And now, tell me, how do you feel when it's quiet? When the music stops? When no one's texting? Does peace flood in? Or panic? Be honest, because this is the truth. You've never learned to be alone. Not really. Not deeply. Not in the way that heals. You've learned to escape alone. You've mastered that. But sitting, breathing, listening, without needing anything from anyone, that's foreign to you. And that is why you feel lonely. Not because no one loves you, not because you lack friends, but because you don't yet know how to be with the one person you can never escape, yourself. And the first step is seeing this, really seeing it, because you can't heal what you refuse to face. You think loneliness is about the outside, about who calls, who texts, who stays. You think it's about how many friends you have, how busy your weekends are, how full your calendar looks. But that's a lie. Loneliness has nothing to do with the number of people in your life. It has everything to do with the connection you have to yourself. Because here's what nobody tells you. You can be surrounded by 1,000 people and still feel completely alone. You can laugh. You can smile. You can post a perfect life on social media and still go to bed feeling empty. Why? Because loneliness is not external. It's internal. It's not about company. It's about the absence of self-relationship. When you strip away the noise, when the music stops, when no one is texting, when you are finally alone. What do you feel? Do you feel peace? Or do you feel panic? Because the truth is this, most people aren't afraid of being alone. They're afraid of meeting themselves. That is the real fear. And you've been running from it for years. You fill your days with distractions, with conversations, with noise, with screens, with endless scrolling. You tell yourself you're staying connected. But are you? Or are you just running? Running from the moment where you might finally have to sit and listen to yourself. Because that silence, it's not empty. It's full. Full of the questions you don't want to face. Full of the truths you've buried. Full of the pain you never healed. And deep down, you know it. That's why every empty evening terrifies you. That's why you need background noise to fall asleep. That's why you panic when your phone battery dies. It's not about missing others. It's about missing yourself. Because somewhere along the way, you disconnected from your own essence, from your own voice, from your own truth. You became so focused on pleasing the world, so busy chasing validation, that you forgot how to sit with who you are. And now? Now the idea of being alone feels unbearable, because when the world goes quiet, you're left with the one person you can't escape, yourself. And if you don't like that person, if you don't know that person, if you don't trust that person, no amount of external connection will fix it. That's why you still feel lonely, even after all the parties, even after all the likes, even after all the late-night calls. Because loneliness is not cured by others. It is only cured by coming home to yourself. But coming home is hard. It means facing what you've avoided. It means sitting in the silence and listening. It means asking the hardest question of all: who am I when I'm truly alone? That is where real healing begins. Not in more people, not in more noise, not in more distraction, but in rebuilding the one relationship that matters most, the one you have with yourself. But here's the truth most won't face. Rebuilding that connection, it requires going through the fear, through the discomfort, through the darkness. Are you ready for that? Or will you keep running? You think it's the loneliness that hurts, but it's not. It's what the loneliness reveals. That's what terrifies you. That's what keeps you running. Because when everything goes quiet, when the noise fades, when the distractions are gone, what's left? You. And that is the fear, not the empty room, not the silent phone, not the blank calendar. The fear is meeting yourself and not liking who you find. You've built a life around avoiding that moment, filling it with noise, with busyness, with endless doing. Because as long as you're moving, you don't have to face what's underneath. But stop for just a moment. Really stop. And listen. Do you hear peace, or do you hear judgment? Do you feel calm, or do you feel shame? Because here is the truth. Most people's fear isn't of loneliness, it's of self-rejection. You are afraid that if you sit with yourself long enough, you won't like who you are, you won't approve, you won't accept. And worse, that no one else would either. So you run, you chase validation, you chase achievement, you chase connection. Not because you truly desire those things, but because you're terrified of the alternative. Sitting alone with your own unfiltered truth. And here's the paradox. The more you run from it, the bigger it grows. The more you avoid the mirror, the scarier the reflection becomes. Because deep down, you know there are wounds you've ignored, parts of yourself you've disowned, stories you've told to mask the pain. And every time you sit in silence, those stories start to crack. That's why you can't stand being alone, because the silence forces you to feel, to see, to remember. And that is what you've worked so hard to avoid. You tell yourself you're too busy, too productive, too social. But the truth is, you're too afraid. Afraid of the parts of you that haven't healed. Afraid of the questions you don't have answers for. Afraid of finding that beneath all the masks, you don't know who you really are. And here's the hardest part. You're not alone in this fear. Most people live their entire lives running from themselves, building identities to impress, curating images to please, performing roles to fit in. But at night, when the performance ends, when the masks come off, they're just as lost, just as scared, because they've never done the one thing that truly matters: face themselves. And here's the question you must ask. How long can you keep running? How many more distractions will it take? How many more empty connections? How many more nights filled with noise just to drown out your own truth? Because the longer you run, the deeper the fear grows, the wider the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be, and one day that gap will swallow you whole. Unless you turn around, and face it. Face the fear, face the loneliness, face yourself, because only through the fear can you find freedom. But that choice, it's yours, and only yours. Will you keep running, or will you finally stop and meet the person you've been avoiding your entire life? Because beneath the fear, beyond the shame, past the stories you've told, there is someone waiting to be found, someone real, someone whole, someone free. But to meet them, you must first face the darkness within. You've spent so long running, so long hiding, so long building a life around the fear, and now you see it, you feel it. You can't unsee it anymore. That's the first crack. But here's the question. Now that you know, what will you do? Will you keep running, or will you turn? Because here's the truth no one tells you. On the other side of the fear is freedom. But to get there, you must walk through it. There's no shortcut, no bypass, no hack. You can't think your way around it. You can't distract your way past it. You can't achieve your way out of it. You have to face it, feel it, sit in it. And that terrifies most people, because the stories you've told yourself, they'll fall apart. The masks you've worn, they'll crack. The identity you've built to survive, it won't survive this. And that's why so many choose the cage. Because the cage, at least, is familiar. It's known. It's safe, or so it seems. But here's the deeper truth. The cage is killing you, slowly, quietly, one distracted day at a time. You think staying busy protects you? You think staying connected saves you? You think more noise will drown the fear? But it won't. It hasn't, and it never will. So now, what if you stopped? Just stopped. What if you let it all fall silent? No phone, no music, no scrolling, just you. And the fear. What would happen? Would you break? Would you shatter? Would you lose yourself? Or would you finally meet yourself? The self beneath the noise, the self beneath the masks, the self you've been running from. Because here's what waits beyond the fear. Clarity, not comfort, not bliss, but clarity. You'll see who you really are, without the filters, without the performances, without the desperate need to be approved. And in that seeing, you'll find something unexpected. Strength. Not the loud kind, not the external kind, but the deep, unshakable kind. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that doesn't fear solitude. The kind that isn't terrified of silence. Imagine this. Imagine being able to sit alone and feel whole. Imagine no longer needing to prove anything to anyone. Imagine finding peace in your own company, not because the world accepts you, but because you've accepted yourself. That is freedom. But it comes at a price. You have to lose who you were. You have to let the old identities die. You have to let go of the stories that kept you safe. And most of all, you have to face what's inside. Are you ready for that? Most aren't. Most will read this, feel the truth of it, and still run, because freedom sounds beautiful until you realize what it costs. But you wouldn't still be here if you weren't ready, if some part of you didn't already know that staying trapped is no longer an option. So the choice is here, right now. Will you step through the fear, or will you stay in the familiar cage? The door is open, but no one will push you through it. You must choose, because once you step through, everything changes, not instantly, not easily, but profoundly. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you'll never want to go back. But the first step, it's yours to take. Are you ready? Now you see it. The cage, the fear, the truth. And you know this, there is no going back, Not really, not now. Because once you've seen the bars, you can't pretend they're not there. You can try. You can distract yourself. You can fill your days again. You can chase more noise. But somewhere, deep down, you'll know. You'll feel it. That quiet pull. That whisper in the silence. Saying, this isn't freedom. And it won't stop. It never does. Because once the truth cracks through, it spreads. And now, you have a choice. Stay or move. Cling to the familiar or step into the unknown. But understand this. Both paths cost something. If you stay, you'll lose yourself. Slowly, piece by piece, year by year, until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the face staring back. Or you can choose the harder path, the braver path. Step through the fear. Sit in the silence. Rebuild what was broken. And in doing so, reclaim your life, not the life others expect, not the life curated for approval, but a life that is truly yours. And no, it won't be easy. There will be days when you want to run back, when the cage will seem safer. But remember this, the cage is not safe. It is death in slow motion, and freedom, though terrifying, is life, full life. And isn't that what you want? Not a life of noise, not a life of performance, but a life where you can sit with yourself and feel whole. No mask, no shame, no fear, just you. That is possible, but you must choose it. No one can choose it for you. No one can walk the path for you. It begins with a single step, one moment of honesty, one decision to stop running. And that moment could be now, right now. So ask yourself, are you ready? Ready to stop hiding? Ready to stop performing? Ready to stop fearing your own company? Because here's the truth. You are stronger than you think, stronger than the fear, stronger than the stories, stronger than the cage. But strength alone is not enough. You must act. You must choose. You must begin. And when you do, everything changes. Not overnight, not perfectly, but deeply, irreversibly. And that first step, it's this. Admit to yourself that you're ready. Say it. I am ready. And if you truly are, let the world know. Leave this in the comments. I choose freedom. I choose me. Because this is not the end. It's the beginning of your life, your truth, your freedom. And I'll see you on the other side, because you are not alone in this, not anymore.